What's up, guys? It is Chris back with another watch video. 2020 has been a crazy year. However, watches are something that really actually has helped me get through this year. And I know that a lot of collectors out there, people who love watches, it has really occupied a lot of the time that we've been spending at home, just looking at watches and researching watches and things like that. So I just wanted to make a list, do a list of my top watches of 2020. Really no particular order here. I'm just going to go through a few watches that I think were awesome, that were available in 2020 to purchase. So any watches that weren't available to purchase will not be on this list. So getting right into it, my number one on this list, although it is not in any particular order, it is the Ming Abyss, the 18.01, the H41, a 40 millimeter dive watch, 12.9 millimeters thick. It came with an ETA 2824. It was modified to remove the date function. Sapphire fused luminous ceramic material that they actually used instead of regular lume. An incredibly cool watch. It came on a strap. However, you can get their universal bracelet on this now. Just a really good looking watch with some incredible lume. Ming are a really great brand. They are a brand of watch collectors who have come together to make some amazing watches. And these pretty much immediately sold out. I was not able to get one. These sold for $3,250, somewhere about that. And like I said, they immediately sold out, and I was very disappointed. Speaking about being disappointed, the Squale No Radiation. This was in conjunction with the Amsterdam Watch Company. It was a limited edition of only 60 watches. They made two different dial variants. I'm talking about the one that said no radiation in Italian on it. These were new old stock cases with Bakelite dials. So these were actual Blancpain cases that they actually used. They put in 2824 ETA movements. They put on, of course, Squale dials that had no radiation on them in Italian. These were under $2,000. The only downside of these watches were that they were 35 millimeters, but essentially you were getting a Blancpain case, not a Squale case. Squale did make cases for Blancpain in the past. However, essentially these were bought by the owner of Squale, and he made some new old stock watches with those cases. These were actually branded from Blancpain and not from Squale. Very cool watches, very limited. So there were only about, I think, 120 or 180 of these made in total, and only 60 of them had that no radiation dial. Speaking of Blancpain, there is the other Blancpain no radiation dial that came out this year, and that was with Hodinkee. It was their mil-spec 50 fathoms. This was an awesome watch, very expensive, $14,400. However, they were limited to only 250 pieces. They immediately sold out as well. 40 millimeter case, sapphire bezel, brushed case, really good looking watch. And they had that moisture indicator on the dial. Very cool touch. And like I said, sold out pretty much immediately. I believe a lot of dealers got mad about this watch, Blancpain in particular, obviously, because they didn't get any of these and they sold so quickly. And it would make sense that they would probably try and funnel these through some of their ADs, but they did not. They were sold through Hodinkee exclusively, and they sold out immediately. Very good looking watches, very expensive, but pretty legit mil-spec watches, true to the original design, and I really like them. Next is a watch that I actually purchased. This is the Merci and Hodinkee limited edition. It was a limited edition field watch of 1,500 watches. It had some shortcomings, definitely no lume and a mineral crystal, but a really good looking gray dial, some awesome indices on here. They were in white, or are in white, and they have some beautiful blue hands, 37.5 millimeters. You're getting a hand wound ETA 2801 in here. Very thin, very good looking watch. And like I said, limited edition. These are actually still available. It's been about a week since they restocked these, so they sold out of the initial batch that they put on both the Hodinkee website and the Merci website. Merci is sort of like a lifestyle brand that is based in Paris. It's a French brand. These are actually Swiss-made watches. Very good-looking watches in my opinion. And good price, I would say, at $500. A lot of people argued with me on that, but I still think, and I stand behind the fact that I think these are a pretty good price. Next on my list is a micro brand diver from Richard Legrand. I have not actually done my unboxing on this yet. However, obviously, since it is making this list, you will imagine that I really like this watch. I think it's a very good looking watch, a very straightforward watch with some really nice touches. So this gets a Miyota 9039, so a no date version of the 9015. Flat link bracelet, which looks really good on here, and a sapphire bezel. I have the black dial edition. It has a little bit of a red accent. It's a gorgeous watch, and I am really excited to have it on the channel. I will be doing a full review and, of course, an unboxing of this very soon. It's a nice size. I think it's around 40 millimeters or 41 millimeters. I think it's 40 millimeters. Just a really nice watch, a really good looking watch. That's another diver. So I figured I have to choose some non-sport watches. So I did choose one, and one of the nicest watches that I've actually reviewed on the channel this year, one of the biggest surprises I would say as well, is the Bulova Frank Sinatra collection. And the one that I had on the channel was the SW215 powered hand wound Sinatra watch with that beautiful linen dial. It had sort of a diamond pattern bracelet. 40 millimeters. It has a very tight lug width of 42 millimeters. The bracelet kind of wears like a cuff almost, but on a strap, this looks really good. It's just a really good looking watch in general. And it has obviously some ties to Frank Sinatra. Frank Sinatra actually wore Bulova. So a very cool tie in there. And I love Frank Sinatra. I love this watch. That dial was phenomenal, is phenomenal. And you could see that SW15 from the back. They did a really good job with this watch, and the collection in general, the Frank Sinatra collection from Bulova, look absolutely fantastic. Bulova have really done a lot this year, in my opinion, and they've done a lot of good new reissues and some really original watches like these Frank Sinatras. Next on my list is Accutron and the Accutron DNA, a watch that I absolutely fell in love with the moment I laid eyes on it. Not even in person. When I saw it on Hodinkee or another website when they first released it, I went wild over it, and then eventually when I did get it into the channel for review, I absolutely fell in love with it. That electrostatic movement is incredible. It looks really good. There's a lot going on the front of the watch. It's almost like, and how I described it in the review that I did, it's almost like looking at the back of an automatic movement, but you have it on the front of the watch. It's sort of like a skeletonized watch, but you could see the electrostatic movement working. The beautiful sweep of the second hand, it looks absolutely gorgeous, works really nicely. 45 millimeters, these are on the large side. Huge lug to lug because of the way that the actual bracelets fit to the case. But again, just good looking watches. Really domed sapphire crystals. I have the green one. It is gorgeous, and I really do love it. It's one of my favorite watches of the year. One of my favorite watches in a very long time. I think it's a really special, very different watch. $3,300, really not a bad price either. I think these are really good looking watches, very unique watches for that price. So, of course, next I have some Seikos on my list. No list of mine would be complete without Seiko on it. So, of course, I have the SNR 049J1, an incredible blue dial, sort of a Batman GMT from the LX limited edition lineup of watches. An incredibly good looking watch. Yes, these are big. Yes, they're expensive. Yes, they say Seiko on the dial and not Grand Seiko, but you cannot deny how cool these watches are. You get that little power reserve on there. Some people hate that. I love it. I think these are good looking watches, and they have a really cool spring drive movement in them. Awesome watches, large watches. I think they're around 45 millimeters, but again, good looking watches in my opinion. And it gets that gradient dial from a dark blue to a light blue. And then of course you have the actual rotating bezel, which gets sapphire inlay in it, and it looks really good. I think that it really does give Rolex a run for its money, in my opinion. Of course, people do not agree with that. A lot of people do not agree with that, but I think that LX line in general makes some amazing looking watches. And speaking of amazing looking watches, the next Seiko on this list is the Seiko Prospex 200 meter dive watch, the SBDC 127. This is the blue dial with the black bezel. It's essentially the smaller version of my SBDC 061. They came out with it in 42 millimeters. I cannot say enough about this watch. I really want to get one in on the channel for review. They are retailing at around $1,200 and they are selling for $1,200 right now. So I will wait a little while, but I definitely want to jump on one of these when I can. I think they're really good looking, and at 42 millimeters, the 44 millimeter version, which is the one that I have with the black dial, wears really nicely. It almost wears like a 42 millimeter. So what I imagine this would wear like a 40 millimeter. You're getting that 6R35 in it now. Just a good looking watch, and I'm really excited. I really want to get one hands on. Next, another awesome Seiko, and one of my favorite Seiko dress watch releases this year, hands down, is the Presage Sharp Edged series. This was new for 2020, of course, the SPB 165, and there was like a 169, a 167, and a 170. They're sort of like baby Grand Seikos, beautiful cases on these, beautiful dials, 6R15s, excuse me, 6R35s. So just really good looking watches, really beautiful dials, some almost like Spaceship Earth, if you guys are familiar with Epcot Center in Disney World. They sort of have a pattern on the dial that looks phenomenal. I really love them. It's definitely a watch that I want to have in my collection very, very soon. Next on this list is another brand that I have really featured a lot on my channel this year, is Christopher Ward, and they did something really special this year, and it's kind of a sort of the under the radar pick of my list this year. And it is a dive watch, of course. It is the C65 Super Compressor. Just a really cool watch. It is the rebirth of the Super Compressor, according to them, because they've actually made an automatic watch with a real super compressor. So it has that actual spring in the back that actually functions as a super compressor, but you're able to see the movement in the back. 150 meters, water resistant. It's sort of like a classic dive watch that they've reinterpreted into a modern design. It looks really good, and I really think that these are something that if you are in the market for a dive watch, something very different, something very special, and you want something modern, but you want something that is vintage inspired, you can't get any more vintage than this, because obviously it's technology that's no longer being used. It still works, it still looks great, and it's from a brand that makes some pretty innovative watches, Christopher Ward. Definitely check this watch out. I really like it. Next on the list, and I have just a few more to go, is the Longines Aviation Big Eye in titanium with that blue fume dial. This is a watch that actually is only available in Italy right now. It's the L28161932. I am praying that they bring this to the United States. Right now we only get the black dial version in stainless steel. This is the sort of upgraded version in titanium with a beautiful black to blue fume dial. It is awesome, and it's just a good looking watch. And I really hope they bring this to the United States. Like I said, it's only available on the Longines. It's only available on the Longines website for Italy for some reason, but usually when that happens, they end up bringing it to the bigger markets like the United States. So let's hope that they do. Another watch that sold out pretty quickly is a Casio, and this is the G-Shock that they did with a crossover with NASA. Just a really straightforward square G-Shock. This was the DW5600. NASA 20 was the actual code of this. It was a limited edition, so when they sold out, they actually just went on eBay and people were paying overpriced immediately for them. I had one in my cart and I ended up not buying it, and I kicked myself for that. It had some really good little features on it, on the bracelet and on the crystal itself. You could see a little moon on it. It was just really an interesting looking watch. all white. But like I said, they sold out pretty quick, and now they are selling on eBay for premium. Unfortunately, something I did not jump on. Very bad move on my part. Next, and kind of a wild card here, is the Panerai 70 Years of Luminor. And this was the trio, but there was one that came in with, and it got the nickname of Tron. It was the one that was actually loomed. They loomed the actual strap, they loomed the crown, they loomed the dial. It was crazy. A lot of loom on this watch. And I believe they put like C1, X1. It was tons and tons of loom. Just a really cool watch, and it got 70 years of warranty or something crazy like that. They guarantee it for 70 years. And, you know, Panerai will be around, so obviously they don't need service, these watches. Something crazy like that. Just a really cool watch. I believe they were in a Carbotech, but they have a bunch of different textures and materials that they're using for their other watches. But the specific one that I'm talking about with all that loom was a Carbotech, I believe. Just a really cool watch. Very excited about that watch. I would love to see one hands-on. I know they're pretty expensive, though, and very limited. And last, I just wanted to round up this whole list with some personal watches that I purchased this year. My favorite watches. Number one is that Waltham Blancpain made. It was a private label by Blancpain. It's the Bathyscaphe 50 Fathoms Waltham that I own. I absolutely love that watch. It went through that eBay verification process. The first watch that I ever bought off of eBay, they did that. Just a good looking watch with a Bakelite dial, 37 millimeters, I want to say. And it's just a cool watch made by Blancpain, and you really cannot go wrong with these watches. And I think that these are definitely future collectibles. Their prices aren't crazy right now, and I think in the future they will be. Speaking about crazy prices, the Eterna Advantic, a cheap watch on eBay. These retailed for around $4,500, but I got mine for around $700. An awesome GMT watch with a lot of details. The case has a ton of details on it. The dial has a ton of details. Even the crown, the bracelet, the buckle, everything. And it has the in-house GMT movement. So it actually has an independently operating GMT function. So if you're in the market for a GMT, Eterna is really, those in-house movements are pretty amazing, and you can get them for absolutely next to nothing on eBay because they have been basically liquidated. And these are very good looking watches. They're like 42 millimeters with an ostrich strap, just really cool. And to round this all up is Maramusi. Maramusi is a watch brand that I was super interested in, and I actually reached out to them, and I ended up being the US representative for them. And Maramusi are a Swiss crafted independent brand. All of their watches are made within a 60-mile radius in Switzerland. They have 300 meters water resistance without having any plastic gaskets or rubber gaskets in them. Really awesome watches with incredible movements that are made by Le Jeu de Paris, and they are gorgeous. They're engraved. The dials are layered sandwich dials that are actually really complicated watches to put together. Just technical watches that have real functionality, and they're really good looking. I think they're like 44 millimeters, minus 44 millimeters. However, they wear really, really well. I love them, and I think that they make some really cool watches. Hopefully, I will be doing more content with them in the near future. Anyway, I wanted to take this opportunity to thank you guys, and I'll make another video, of course, but I just wanted to thank you guys for all your support throughout 2020. I know it's been a very difficult year for a lot of people, and I know that the watch community has sort of come together, and we have really made it, you know, the best we can make it with all of the terrible circumstances that are going on outside of our doors right now with COVID-19 and all of these other tragedies that are happening. But life is moving on, and hopefully we will be coming out of this slump very, very soon, and things will start moving and start changing again. But in the meantime, I want to wish everybody a happy new year and happy holidays. And again, thank you for all your support throughout 2020, and I really appreciate it. And I will catch you guys in the next video, and have a happy